Miscellaneous minds, never explaining the minds. Devilish grin for my alias, aliens who respond. Peddling sin, thinking maybe when you get old you realize I'm not gonna fold or demise. I don't smoke crack, motherfucker, I sell it.
What is going on, everybody? This is the Miscellaneous Minds podcast. I'm your co-host, Boomer Gato, the cat that hands you your original back. And to my left over here is the main man, assistant nerd, the man that makes the fat stacks. Together we form the dynamic duo that won't die. Deadly ideas, run, spice your content to your girls' only fans.
What is going on, everybody? Before we get into tonight's topic, please make sure to like, comment, hate, subscribe, DM us about the bullshit, and with that, let's get right into it. So, right before we started recording tonight, we decided to watch the trailer for Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now, if you guys know or are fans of the show or even the previous movie, which I don't know how you could be, we have low expectations for any... what's the word I'm looking for here? For any live action remake of anime. I don't think Avatar is considered an anime, but it's pretty damn close. Listen, the previous Avatar: The Last Airbender, where they had Ong, was dog shit. I don't give a shit who it was that was directing it. M. Night Shyamalan. Maybe he's a great. And others, when it came to that movie, he phoned that shit in. Calling my man Ong. Anyways, listen, we watched the trailer. I'll be honest with you, I have my problems with it. Based on the trailer, it looks like a movie to me. It looks like it's going to be a movie to me. If it is going to be a movie, already fucked up. To put into a 2 to 3 hour movie, 4 hours if you want to be generous. A show that was essentially making over 4 or 5 years, maybe 6, is insane to me. You can't dive into the depth of the story of that show with such a short period of time. You won't do it justice. You just can't do it justice. So we watched the trailer and there was already some things that kind of annoyed me. First of all, the Sokka in the trailer is not funny in the least bit. Everybody knows a pivotal part of the original, the cartoon / anime, whatever you want to call it, is Sokka was a hilarious motherfucker. I fuck with Sokka. I fuck with all of them. They were all funny to a certain degree. And I'm just not getting that in this show. I feel like they're making it too much of a, oh, look, it's a grand movie with great, fucking CGI and blah, blah. And that's great. That's great. We'd want that in too. But let's keep some of the original part of the show in the movie. I want Sokka to be a fucking hilarious dumbass. I want Aang to be a little bit of an idiot, even though he's got this immense responsibility and power. I want them all to be the original characters. And I'll be honest with you, I'm just not getting that from this trailer. Now, don't get me wrong, it was just a 2-minute trailer, so maybe it didn't do justice to what we're eventually going to see. But listen, let's be honest, as anime fans, we all know that a lot of these live actions are just never as good as what they're supposed to be representing. You can go back and watch the DBZ. Name some other ones for me. I can't think of other ones right now.
Okay, there was Dragon Ball Z. There was the Cowboy Bebop anime. There was a Death Note anime that was a live action one, and I can't remember the other ones. Yu Yu Hakusho had a recent one that I heard was decent, but I'm gonna have my thoughts on that later.
Regardless, there's a few just to name them. And listen, they're just never as good. And here's the thing, I understand why they want to redo these things. In fact, I believe I just sent you a link, or might have tagged you in something about Fallout. Look, listen.
It was BioShock, actually.
BioShock, there you go, BioShock. Listen, I am all for making these things into live actions, but make them shows. You can't do these shows justice in a 2 to 3 hour window. You just can't. There is too much story. There is too much depth of character for each individual. It took years and years to build up the story arc for a Zuko. To try and make it in a 2 to 3 hour window, you're not going to do Zuko's character justice. You're just not going to. From the person that when you see in the very first episode of who Aang is to where he becomes the man that he's supposed to become by the end of the show, it's just a 2 to 3 hour window is not enough time to do the man justice. For any of the characters, there's just so much depth of characters. How are you going to tell the emotional, true story of Iroh in such a short period of time? Listen, if you followed Iroh's story in the original, that shit brought a fucking tear to your eye. Shout out to when he fucking did a memorial for his son. You can't do these people justice in such a short period of time 2 to 3 hours. 4 if you're really gonna be, make it a long movie. You just can't do them justice in such a short period of time. What do you think about that, my man?
Look, my main problem with all these live action shows is that they always try and the pitch for them seems to be, oh, this looks good, but we can make it better. They always try and do up the visual aspect because there's only so much you can do with animation, right? I think that's a bullshit claim. There's plenty you can do with animation. In fact, that's actually my main problem with it, is that you think because it's in a more recognizable visual style that makes it better. It's more of a style and all style, no substance. And that's the basic premise of all these live action shows. It's okay, we can recognize it now. It's like, yes, but does that make it any better? One of the things that I had an issue with, especially, is because you mentioned the main one, is that this had no character chemistry, and it's got no room for pacing. If this happens to be a movie as opposed to a TV show, then yes, I have an issue with it. But my thing is, even if it was a TV show, I still would have an issue with it. Here's why. Whenever these things happen for live action, and let's lump this in with all like the Disney remakes, The Lion King, Mulan, Little Mermaid, Snow White, all this, they all have the same issue, that when they come out, people said, okay, it was good, and I always ask them a follow-up question. Okay, it's good. Is it better? And they always reply, oh, obviously not. And my thing is, then why make it? Why make it if it's not going to be better? Why would you not expand on anything the original did? No, you're just recreating it. You're adding nothing to it. It is legit solely a cash grab. And I wouldn't be surprised if this goes the usual thing with Netflix shows that they make it halfway. And guess what? Okay, if it gets good ratings, guess what? We'll cancel it. Because let's be real. It's a money thing. Happens a lot, yeah. It's a money thing. It happens a lot when TV shows, they basically cash out on the insurance that the show basically accumulated or whatever, and they said, okay, it's more profitable to actually keep to basically cancel the show than to keep it running. And for one thing, that pisses a lot of people off. And if that's the case, why even do it in that case?
Listen, one of the problems that I have with it is, you have these hardcore fan bases of shows like The Avatar or a BioShock or a God of War. And the problem is you bring it to a mainstream audience, right? And the thing is, if they're bad, which they usually are, you turn people off from the potential of experiencing the original. Like, again, I've seen plenty of news cycles where they talk about, oh, God of War is being made into a live action. That could potentially be phenomenal. But the reality of it is, it's more than likely not going to be. And to do such a strong and great series like God of War disjustice by making a shitty live action of it just because, hey, it's a big popular, video game title, let's make it into, a live action. Let's throw a bunch of cool CGI effects in it and think that that's going to carry the weight of the original story, the original pacing, the original greatness of the original. It's just not going to. And that's why it annoys me. You're doing it a disjustice because the reality of it is you're turning people that might potentially go over and look at the original away because you made a shitty version of it. Anything else you want to add to that, my man?
Yes, actually a couple more points. The fact that you brought up the God of War one actually bothers me on a number of points, because my thing is, like, okay, first of all, are they going to recreate the original God of Wars, like God of War 1, 2, and 3 for like PS2? Or are they going to make the new one? Which, look, I have nothing against the new one. In fact, I actually loved God of War for PS4 and God of War, what was it? It's not Valhalla, it's Ragnarok, yes. Those are phenomenal games. They're absolutely beautiful games. The story, the visuals, everything about it, everything about the game is absolutely perfect. I have one issue, though. Specifically in terms of that it brought in more people because, again, it was, a big hitter for PS4, whatever. But people said, oh, but I didn't want to go back to the original God of Wars. And the problem that I had with that, from a storytelling perspective, is that everything that happened in God of War PS4 and everything that happened in God of War Ragnarok, and by extension God of War Valhalla, the big emotional pivotal moment in God of War Valhalla is everything that happened from the PS2 games transferred over to the PS4 era, and every single thing that impacted Kratos' life up to that point happens in the PS4 games. Every emotional, hard-hitting moment that happened to him, yeah, it existed. And you can tell he's rattled by the experience. He doesn't want to become that person anymore, but he keeps dragging himself in. If somebody made a story and said, okay, I don't want to deal with the aftermath of what happened, in my past life, whatever, and they never show it, wouldn't that piss you off?
So what you're saying is essentially because the story, if they start telling it from Ragnarok on, you're not getting the prelude. You're not getting the beginning of the story.
You're not getting the emotional gravitas of why Kratos is the person that he is, and every single decision, every single tragedy, everything that made Kratos the person that he is. When you look at Kratos when he is in God of War for PS4, you can see that he's tired. And if you've been there since the beginning, you understand why he's tired. You understand he truly, truly does not want to be a fighter anymore, but he keeps getting dragged in situations where he has to. You get a sense of a man that's trying to do better, and you see every single sin that has happened at that point, and he's trying to rid himself of those sins. He's trying to rid himself of those ghosts of his past that he keeps trying to run away from, and you realize he truly has to face them. The emotional gravitas and everything that happens in those 2 games for the PS4, you feel them as a person because you've been there since the beginning. So to have a show start right there robs everybody of the experience. And you are doing a complete disservice by showing everything that has happened to him and skip over that as a person. From a storytelling perspective, I understand, yes, a bunch of people hopped on at that point, but to understand who Kratos truly was and how much he's grown as a person, you have to play the originals. And I don't think any live action series that's going to shoot Kratos in that manner, they're not going to show that, which is criminal.
Listen, man, you're getting a little bit ahead of yourself because we don't know where it's going to come in. We know that it's going to be made as they've discussed, but we don't know exactly where in the story it's going to actually jump in. So we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. The point is, whenever they do these, they do them half-assed. They don't really give it the true history of the show. Again, if you're going to recap what is essentially 4 or 5 seasons of the last Avatar the last Airbender and put it into just this 3 to 4 hour movie, it's just not going to work out. So that's what we're saying is with these types of things. It becomes one of those scenarios where it just makes it a disservice to the original. It makes it a disservice to the fans of all the people that watched everything from the beginning. And we need to kind of stop that. And I feel like, again, like you said, it's a cash grab. It's a cash grab because these series are big popular for their super fan base. But then when people tune in, like anyone that watched the last Avatar that was directed by M. Shyamalan, like if that was your first inception into the show, I wouldn't be surprised if you're like, I can't watch, the cartoon. It's dog. Like, I get that. So we need to stop making these cash grabs and trying to make it so easy for all these companies like Netflix to just make a quick buck off of things that to some of us mean a lot. Anything else you want to add to that, my man?
No, I've actually gotten rid of my big rant on this.
All right, and with that, make sure to like, comment, hate, subscribe, DM us about the bullshit, and
Until next time, get rest and stay blessed. We'll see you in the next one.